What's going on, football world? It's Carter with X's and O's, and today I'm going to be talking about will backer dogs. The first thing I want to bring your attention to are the three pre-drawn offensive lines in X's and O's blue and their defensive counterparts on the other side of the ball in a basic 4-3 over front 7-man box. The way I learned it, the difference between a line stunt, a dog, and a blitz are as follows. A line stunt is a gap exchange between two defensive linemen, and a dog is a gap exchange between a defensive lineman and a linebacker, and a blitz are variations of them both. And you can add D-backs into a blitz, you can add coverage exchanges into a blitz, and we'll talk more about that later. But today we're going to be talking about backer or will backer dogs. The first thing I want to talk about are, really quick, so you understand why my linebackers are at different depths, are basic alignment instructions that I like to provide to my players when I coach, or the instruction that I was provided while I was a player. Makes communication easier. If you haven't watched my previous video on defensive gaps and techniques, you may want to do so before watching this one. It will clarify some things, why the numbers are the way they are and the shades and that type of thing. But the first alignment I want to talk about is the Sam backer, and we're going to put his heels at 3 yards. So if we go over here, we have 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yards. And I'm going to put my Sam backer back here. I'm going to put his heels at 3 yards. And he is in a 50, or excuse me, in a 5 technique. If you see the 5 technique over here, he's on the outside shade of the tackle. Well, so is the Sam backer, but he is 3 yards off the ball. So he is in a 53. The Mike is in a outside shade of the center. Just like your nose guard up there, I'm going to put his heels at 5. And because he is in a 1 technique, but he is 5 yards off the ball, he is going to be in a 15. A 15 technique. The will backer, who is always going to be in X's and O's green today, again, he is 1, 2, 3 yards off the ball, heels at 3, in a 5 technique, and so again, he is in a 53 technique as well. So as you can see, I like to stagger the depth of my linebackers. I like to keep my Mike, especially in a 4-3 over front, I want to keep my Mike pretty clean, so I put him back so he can run downhill on diagonals and attack the run if need be. If it's a passing down, I will put my linebacker back at in a 17 technique, so that he's a little bit deeper to cover those hook zones, or that middle hole that is often behind a 4-3 defense, whether it be a cover 2 or a cover 4, something like that. But let me redraw my linebackers here. Now you know why they are staggered like that. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. And another 53 with the Sam. Linebacker dogs, I was taught to group them by a certain identifier or cue, and so over here I'll put it up underneath the heading. Will backer dogs, those equal, I will put an equal sign, and those equal weapons. So it was easy for us when we were playing, and this is how I coached it as well. But whenever you call a defensive play and you hear a weapons call, you automatically know this is going to be a will backer dog, and so that alerts everybody to the type of play that it's going to be, or the play call. The first one up top here, you can see there are no defensive linemen in X's and O's green, so therefore this is a natural gap blitz for a natural gap dog for the will backer. The 1 technique here is responsible for the weak side A gap. The 5 technique is responsible for the weak side C gap. Will backer is naturally responsible for the weak side B gap. And so when we call a will, that's kind of the rule breaker for the name, or for the naming or the alert. But he's going to run a natural gap dog right through that weak side B gap, his natural responsibility. So a will, he is responsible for the B gap. But he's coming right now. Moving down to this diagram, you can see the 5 technique is in X's and O's green along with the will, and so this is going to be a gap exchange again. The 1 technique is responsible for the weak side A gap, will weak side B, 5 technique weak side C gap before the ball is snapped. Once the ball is snapped, the defensive end or the 5 technique is going to slant hard, because again dogs are gap exchanges with a linebacker and a defensive lineman. The 5 technique is going through first, and then he's going to gap exchange with the will backer, who's coming outside to the C gap. And he is going to be coming around second. And because it is a C gap responsibility for the will backer equals weapons, we are going to call this a cannon. C for cannon. So that's the alert. Over here, moving into the last diagram, the 1 technique now is in X's and O's green along with the will backer. It is going to be a gap exchange between those 2. 1 technique has to, on the snap of the ball, cross the face of that guard and get into the weak side B gap, because it is a gap exchange, because it is a dog. He is going first. Will backer is going to come behind, gap exchange with the 1 technique, and now he is responsible for the weak side A gap, and he's coming around second. Will backer is responsible for the weak side A gap now. Again, will is weapons. This is going to be called an axe. A for axe. Will is weapons. So now you have a gap dog, a B gap dog, which is the natural gap, and a C gap, ABC. And you can have fun with naming this. You don't even have to put will as weapons. You can put will as animals. You can put will as vehicle names. You can just be creative with that part, or you can be creative. You can keep it weapons, and whatever favorite weapon you like that begins with C, you can call it that. Whatever favorite weapon begins with A, you can call it that. So have fun with that. I hope this video has helped. This has been talking about will backer dogs, and as always, I hope these videos make you a more knowledgeable player, coach, spectator. And if you have any questions, or you would like me to discuss any football knowledge that I can share with you, please email me at xzandos.cs@gmail.com. And I appreciate you watching the videos. Please like it on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. More videos to come. Thank you, and see you next time.